Bienvenidos, aloha, and welcome in to TarTV. Alex Crawford and Taryn Rodriguez with you here live from Davidson Field. We joined this game in progress in the first quarter, 3:30 to go. And the Sailors lead 2-0. Taryn, tell our viewers and our listeners how we got here. Who scored goals for the Sailors, and what led the Sailors to this hot start this evening against Servite?
So Newport Harbor got the party started with a goal from Charlie Durrani, then followed it up with a goal from Aiden Brutman. Both of those goals were assisted. The first assist was from I believe it was from Joe Nip, and the second one was from Luke Barnes. So Newport Harbor is on a roll to start, but you never can count out Servite, because whenever the Sailors and the Friars meet, it most likely goes down to the wire. So got to keep an eye on both these teams.
Well, we expected this to be a tougher matchup for the Sailors than their last game, where they absolutely dominated Chaparral, as bringing it up there quickly is Dylan Wanch with the long stick. Looking quick. Aiden Brutman now. Well, Harbor dominated Chaparral on Saturday, but we knew coming into this game, Taryn, that Servite would be a little bit more of a problem. What can you tell me about the Servite Friars?
So they're 0-2 to start the season, but both their opponents they faced are very talented. They lost to Yorba Linda in their season opener 11-5, and then last Saturday when they played Corona Del Mar at CDM, they lost that one 18-8. It got to the point where it was 10-0 to start, so we'll see if Servite can bounce back. They're a pretty solid team, though. Tom O'Leary's been at the helm for 11 years, and they've just done an outstanding job, and I think this team could possibly make noise in the Trinity League.
Tom O'Leary, one of the longest tenured coaches in the Sunset League in his 11th season. Of course, Mark Todd would have been in his 11th season if he had stuck around with his brother David in his first year here for the Sailors. Will Patterson at goal line extended, feeds it inside. Nice look at a goal. Aiden Brutman, as his knees touch the turf, finds the back of the net for his second goal of the night and puts the Sailors up 3-0. Absolutely beautiful on the pass from Patterson to Brutman. That was an absolutely beautiful goal, Taryn.
Absolutely, and he couldn't have timed that one better. And good recognition on Will Patterson for finding the open man instead of just going up on his own. That's like talented, like lacrosse, like right there, and how he distributed the ball perfectly. Yeah.
And who had the other two goals for the Sailors?
Brutman and Durante, yeah.
So Brutman with 2 goals, Charlie Durrani with 1, and the Sailors lead 3-0 in the final minute and 30 seconds of the first quarter. Luke Barnes cradling with a left hand. And I heard you say, Taryn, I heard you mention number 13, Joe Nip, earlier.
It might have been Joe Nip. I'm not fully certain, considering their numbers are a little tough to read, but it is assisted. All 3 of Newport Harbor's goals were assisted.
Well, we will work to confirm that, because I would be very excited to see number 13, Joe Nip, back out here for the Sailors, because that would mean that potentially on Friday night against Fountain Valley, we might see him suit up and get on the field at wide receiver against the Barons.
Perhaps, yeah.
Will Patterson letting it rip.
Ooh.
And finding the back of the net. Will Patterson. A surefire shot. I like how certain he was with his release there. Taryn let that one rip from long range and put the Sailors up 4-0, 39 seconds to go in the first.
Well, as you would put it, he tested the rocket launcher, and it was a bullseye for the Sailors on that one.
He absolutely did. I appreciate that shout out there, because, Taryn, I stole some phrasing from you on a few of my broadcasts. I heard you say last year at one of the lacrosse games, working the cage like a zookeeper.
Correct.
I don't know if that's a Taryn Rodriguez original, but I give you credit, and I think that's amazing.
Hey, thanks, Alex. I definitely appreciate it, as we're going to get a timeout from Servite as the Sailors are up 4-0. And you kind of got a feel for Servite. They do have a little bit of a young team, but they're still trying to figure it out, as most teams are as well. They play in the very competitive Trinity League, and Newport Harbor already knows what it's like to face a Trinity League team, as last week they faced Mater Dei, and it was not pretty for the Sailors. Lost that one 11-3, but it seems like that was a humbling experience for the Sailors. So we'll see if the Sailors can keep up their hot streak. They actually have another Trinity League opponent next Wednesday at Santa Margarita. So we'll see if the Sailors can keep up their hot streak.
Well, in the Trinity League, Taryn, I'll let you tell our viewers and our listeners your credentials here in a bit, but the Trinity League is known for being pretty solid in lacrosse, right? A pretty formidable league, top to bottom. Am I wrong, or am I correct in that?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Well, and so tell our viewers while they're tuned in here on TarTV, we thank them for joining us here. Late first quarter, Sailors lead 4-0. Taryn, tell our viewers, you work for Max Lax. Tell us about your lacrosse acumen.
So I have worked for Max Lax for 4 years. Looks like it's going to be going on for 5, depending on what happens with me. But I am proud to be working for Max Lax. Definitely am. Ooh, nice little save right there. But definitely am proud to work for Max Lax, and it can be tough, but especially with this whole pandemic. But I am happy to be working, and I also got to give a shout to Jerry Murray for letting me attend these games. I'm not so sure what the other games are going to look like. I have attended a couple other games when it came to opposing Sunset League teams' schools, but I'm not sure about some of the other schools like in South Orange County.
Long-range missile shot. Jerome Snyder cleans it up. The horn sounds, and that does it for the first quarter here from Davidson Field. Sailors strike early, strike often, coming out looking hot against a very formidable opponent in the Servite Friars. We'll have second quarter action for you when we come back. Alex Crawford, Taryn Rodriguez, live from Davidson Field. You're watching Newport Harbor Boys Lacrosse on TarTV. Welcome back into TarTV. Alex Crawford, Taryn Rodriguez with you here live from Davidson Field. Beautiful, crisp night for lacrosse. Sailors looking to move to 3-1 on the season. They beat Beckman and Chaparral handily. They struggled last week against Modern Day, losing that game 11-3, and they faced their second Trinity League opponent of the season tonight. The Servite Friars coming in at 0-2, certainly better than their record indicates. And the Sailors win the opening faceoff of the second quarter. Mason Williams controlling that, clearing it. And the Sailors setting up on attack here in their white jerseys, gray pants, gray numbers, and white helmets. New uniforms this year, right, Taryn?
Yeah, absolutely. New everything. New head coach, new uniforms, some new players, but still the same Newport Harbor Boys Lacrosse that's determined to prove it to everyone that they belong as one of the best teams in California. They definitely are consistent year in and year out. And even though they lost 17 seniors to graduation, this team looks pretty promising. So long as they iron stuff out and they're able to like clean up their mistakes, they should be fine going forward.
Luke Barnes, goal line extended, spins around like a tornado and finds the back of the net. One of the only juniors to get major varsity minutes last year, a team captain this year, spins around like a whirling dervish and whips into the back of the net. Sailors lead 5-0, 11-13 to go in the second quarter. We've seen some beautiful goals here tonight.
Absolutely. That's what I call a corkscrew.
Yes.
Just brought it around town and just scored that one. Absolutely beautiful goal by Mr. Luke Barnes. And Newport Harbor just continues to roll. When they get started and when they get scoring, they're pretty tough to stop.
Well, you brought it up here earlier. Sailors win the faceoff again. Mason Williams, 2 for 2 in this quarter, pushes it ahead, tries to get it to Brutman. I want to talk about something you brought up, Taryn, the amount of seniors we lost. I bring it up on every broadcast because losing 17 seniors is insane. I mean, that's a big obstacle to overcome. As I mentioned, Barnes, one of the only juniors to get major varsity minutes last year, but the Sailors, dodging inside. Whew. Charlie Durrani looking for his second goal tonight. Doesn't get there, chased down by the Sailors. But looks like so far in this, early in this season, they've been able to adjust and adapt to losing so many guys, losing so many seniors last year.
I agree, and it's not easy to replace guys like Aiden Goltz and Rhett Farmer. But I also got to give props to Mason Williams on a great job at the faceoff, considering the faceoff is one of the most key positions in lacrosse. And if you control the faceoffs, you basically control the world, as some coaches like to say. And they are key, considering if you have the ball, you basically can score. And Newport Harbor's been doing a great job dominating offensive possession.
Finally getting a look at the Friars on attack. Sailors have dominated time of possession in this game. We're just a couple minutes into the second quarter, and Harbor leads 5-0 over the Friars of the Trinity League. Servite still looking for their first win of the season. Sailors at 2-1. As Servite yet to find pay dirt tonight. Jerome Snyder been tested a few times. He's been a save machine this season. Will Patterson there defending. And now Troy Kennedy with the long stick comes over. Nice shot and great defense by the Sailors. Will Patterson makes Jerome Snyder's job easy, and then Patterson tracks it down on the sideline. Possession goes back to the Friars.
And there's nothing more relieving for a goalie when your defense is able to step up and prevent the shots and just make it tough for the opposing offense. So I like what Newport Harbor is bringing, but it's still a long game. You never can count out Tom O'Leary's team. So we'll see.
Tom O'Leary, 2018 Orange County Coach of the Year. And every year, you see a couple of guys from the Servite Friars go on to play at the next level. 2 guys on this team as we get a good look inside from Servite. It ends up on the ground. And there on defense for the Sailors was Bryce McBeth, number 20. And a flag comes in, so I think that will go against McBeth on what I was about to say was a beautiful check, but I think the officials say was a push in the back.
Just 30 seconds, but Servite will have a man-up opportunity, a little bit of a power play, so we'll see if they can capitalize on that. As long as Newport Harbor's able to limit those penalties, and I think they will be fine going forward. But we'll see if Servite can get their first goal of the game. It's only for 30 seconds, but we'll see if Newport Harbor's man-down defense can clamp down on the Friars.
6-on-5 for Servite. 30-second penalty against Bryce McBeth, pushing the back. See what the Friars do on the power play here. 5-0. They trail. 8 minutes to go. Long-range shot will be chased down by number 7 of the Friars, Matthew Greenlee. 2 of these Friars players going on to play at the next level next year. Number 2, Nick Shirameta, the senior, going to play at Bellarmine University in Louisville, Kentucky. And Evan Watanabe, another senior, signed to play at North Central College in Naperville, Illinois.
As that last shot was actually deflected, and to talk about Shirameta, I wrote a little bit of a piece on Nick Shirameta. Definitely a great face-off specialist.
Harbor back to full strength. Shirameta going to play at Bellarmine University in
yes.
Louisville, Kentucky. D1 in the Southern Conference, the SoCon.
Yeah, when it comes to lacrosse, it's Division 1. Most people say it's Division 2, but when it comes to men's lacrosse, it's Division 1. Got to get it right, everybody.
5-0 Sailors lead. Friars on attack. Nice stick check there by Newport Harbor. Nice use of the body by Noah Fogelman. You see why head coach Peter Lofthouse likes him at the linebacker position for the Newport Harbor football team. And the ground ball scooped up by Dylan Wanch. Cooper Hempstead getting in there as well. And now Aiden Brutman is trying to get the ground ball. It ends up in the stick of Cooper Hempstead. Athletic. Hempstead feeds it ahead. Good look inside for the Sailors. Shot off, but ooh, nice fast break opportunity. Owen Brosnan wanted to touch the twine.
That's basically when lacrosse can go from 0 to 100 on a little bit of a fast break after a caused turnover. It's a little scramble for the ball and then possible like a war for the goal and prevention of the goal, as looks like we got flag down. Might be offsides on Servite.
As Luke Barnes lost that one, Servite's Nick Shurameta, number 2, scooped it up, and it will be against the Friars. 6:52 to go here in the second. Sailors storming out to a 5-0 lead. I don't want to jinx him, but Jerome Snyder pitching a shutout here through a quarter and a half.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good for Newport Harbor, as they're going to have a man-up opportunity for 30 seconds, as looks like Servite got called for a 30-second technical foul, though number 9 of Servite, that is James Prado, will sit for 30 as Newport Harbor's on the power play.
Newport Harbor on the power play. They get it over at the X. Now working around on the far side. Luke Barnes has it. Whips one high. Will be chased down by Brutman. Possession Sailors.
Yeah, that one was a little high. That was a speeding bullet right there. So
would not want to be in the way of that shot by Luke Barnes. Now Patterson uncorks one, tests the rocket launcher once again, and strikes from long range. A long-range missile making life miserable for the Servite goalkeeper, number 13, Caden Cox. Didn't want any part of that one. Sailors up 6-0, 6:30 to go here in the second. Will Patterson, his second goal of the evening, to go along with an assist for one of the captains on this team.
And Will Patterson has done a great job. I've seen him play on JV, and he's done great things for the Sailors. And I believe he has 2 goals and 2 assists. I believe that last goal or the first goal was assisted by him. I'll have to confirm that, but I'm 90% certain it was assisted by him. So he's done a lot. He's had his hand in 4 goals tonight.
Ground ball rolling in the Servite direction. Sailors trying to dig it out. They do. Ryder Jackson sprinting, cradling with a right hand, trying to clear it. He gets it over to Barnes on the far side, and the Sailors do clear it. Absolutely beautiful textbook clear halfway through the second quarter. 6-0. 6 minutes to go till halftime. Sailors dominating this game against the Friars of Servite.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job putting pressure on Servite defensively and then just capitalizing it and turning it into offense. And they have really dominated possession. And we haven't seen Servite take too many shots. So if Servite wants to win, they're going to have to win at the face-off position. But at the same time, Newport Harbor's Mason Williams has done a great job at that position tonight.
On the far side, Barnes tries to feed it inside to Patterson. Servite attempting to dig it out. As you mentioned there, Taryn, it's been, I don't have the time of possession stats here in front of me, but it has been majorly in favor of the Newport Harbor Sailors. We've been looking at their end of the field for the majority of this game.
Yeah, so that last possession was a change of possession. It was Servite ball after there was a little bit of a scrummage for that ball. It looked like it was a little bit of a push. Not too penalty-wise of a push, but just basically a turnover. So now the ball's back in Newport Harbor's hands, as once again their defense has been swarming. Looks like a bunch of killer bees out there.
I think if you're head coach, first-year head coach Mark Todd, you knew this game was going to be, David Todd, shot and a goal. Patterson bounces it in over the goalie's head. Caden Cox in the goal for Servite. Frustrated, befuddled, not having fun out there against the Sailors offense. And Will Patterson, a hat trick and an assist here early in the game. 7-0. I said Mark Todd. I meant his brother David Todd in his first year. As I was about to say, he's got to be very happy, very pleased with how this game is going. Well, let me just add on to that. He's got to be extremely pleased with how this game's going, Taryn.
Oh, absolutely, and he has every right to. And again, offensive possession is what really matters, and to me, I think Newport has been very aware of that. I really think the modern day loss was very humbling for them, just because they came out flat-footed and they just couldn't rebound. And who knows? Maybe that loss will basically be their turning point if they just happen to get on a hot streak. There's still plenty of games left for the Sailors. They've got a lot of stiff competition going forward.
Sure, early in the season, just game number 4 for Newport Harbor. 2-1 on the season. And they lost to the best opponent they faced, Modern Day, but we had Servite circled as what would be a tough game, a good challenge. Nice feed by Barnes from the X. Can't quite get there. Oh, now a whip around behind the back by Charlie Durrani and misses, but that would have been Sports Center top 10-esque from Durrani, one of the other captains, and another two-way player. When I say two-way player, I mean he's playing football and lax at the same time right now. We'll see him suit up on Friday against the Barons, along with his lax teammate and fellow Newport Harbor defensive player for football, Noah Fogelman.
And it looks like Servite's on the attack as they were able to get a rare turnover for against Newport Harbor. So we'll see if the Friars can actually get on the board. Don't mean to use the word actually emphatically, but it's been a little bit of a rough game for the Friars.
That was Matthew Greenlee, number 7, cradling it with a left hand. Will Patterson, stick check, scoops it up. Great defense by the senior captain with the hat trick tonight, but playing both ways. Avoiding the contact and clearing it for the Sailors. Will Patterson feeding it at the X. Brutman. No correction, that's Paul Jensen, another senior. Trying to get it there in the crease, ground ball.
Looks like that's an illegal procedure on Newport Harbor, so that's going to switch it over to Servite's ball. So
2:40 to go in the second. Sailors, lucky number 7, blanking the Friars. 7-0 score, a football score, really. 7-0. Newport Harbor Lacrosse leads over the Servite Friars. And we got a player down right around midfield for Servite. That looks to be number 6, the senior Nicholas Shannon, in some pain there, right around the far hash mark of the football field. Gets up under his own power.
Yeah, it looks like he looks like he might have got the wind knocked out of him, but it looks like he's fine. Just maybe got hit in the back. All you could hope for that was just a minor hit. I don't think it was intentional. Matter of fact, it was 100% not intentional. So hopefully it's not too serious, and we wish him the best.
2:29 to go until halftime, and the Sailors lead 7-0. Taryn, I know you're keeping stats in this game, and I appreciate the double duty that you're pulling for Max Lax and hopping on the TarTV broadcast, but what are our stats thus far? Who's got goals for the Sailors? Who's got the assists? What's the story of this game?
So Newport Harbor, in terms of goals, has 3 goals from Will Patterson, 2 goals from Aiden Brutman, 1 goal from Luke Barnes, and 1 goal from Charlie Durrani. In terms of assists, Will Patterson has 2 assists, while Luke Barnes has 2 assists as well. As we have ourselves a timeout here called by David Todd.
David Todd in his first year, and he's got a great coaching staff too. Thomas McCahill, Taylor Gesquire, Andreas Gaynor. Todd replacing his brother, Mark Todd, who had a decade at the helm for Newport Harbor. Previously 6 years at CDM, and Mark Todd, I know, and all those 17 seniors who graduated, particularly disappointed, understanding, but disappointed in how last year ended. Only got a handful of games, but they were rolling in to the 2020 season with 17 seniors coming off of the 2019 Sunset League Championship. They went 3-1, and then the year was postponed, and then, as we know, canceled due to COVID. 1 year later, we're able to take the field again. But, Taryn, let's just reflect on last year. Only 4 games for the Sailors. They went 3-1. But how good do you think that team could have been, or how well do you think that team would have done if we had not had the season canceled, postponed, and put away due to COVID?
Oh, I think Newport Harbor could have been like a dark horse for the CIF championship. I think they actually could have gone pretty far. They were set number 7 in the CIF rankings. Their only loss was to Foothill, which is a dominant perennial boys lacrosse team year in and year out.
And that was early in the season, right? That's a team like maybe the Modern Day loss this year that you can learn from, grow from, and you meet them again later in the year. You can put them in the dirt.
Yes, except in that game last year, Newport Harbor and Foothill were tied at 3-3, where Foothill eventually started to catch fire in the second half and eventually was able to pull away. I believe the score was like 13-6, but the score was a lot closer than the final score indicates.
I remember that game. We called that game. We called a few games for the Sailors, and then the season ended.
Yeah, I definitely do remember the 3 games you called.
Well, you were on at least one of those.
Yeah, the Santa Margarita game.
That's right. A win.
And then I actually announced the second half of the Foothill and Tesoro games.
Yeah, you were on the PA here at Davidson, right?
Yes, and I called today as a JV game.
Okay.
And fun fact, I actually ran the clock as well, and luckily I did a good job. I didn't get any complaints.
Hey, if they don't complain about the clock, then you're doing it right. As Logan Atkins has it, cradling with a right hand. Tries to feed it inside to Patterson. Pass a little bit too high. Brutman digging it out at the X. Spinning around, leaving his defender in the dirt. Feeding it inside. Pass just a little bit low for Charlie Durrani. Oh, but Aiden Brutman putting his defender on skates. Crossing him over. Looking like Allen Iverson out there with a lacrosse stick in his hand.
Oh, yeah, and I just think that pass might have been a little too low, just a little too low to limbo. So, unfortunately, it was a rare turnover, but I haven't seen too many turnovers for Newport Harbor, so they're valuing the ball, as looks like we are going to get a timeout called by Servite.
So, head coach for the Friars, Tom O'Leary, going to call a timeout. Mr. O'Leary, Coach O'Leary, in his 11th year at the helm. As I mentioned earlier, 2018 U.S. Lacrosse Orange County Coach of the Year. And heading into last season, 4 consecutive playoff appearances for Servite. Obviously, we got no playoffs last year, so that streak doesn't get to continue. But he did play at Southern New Hampshire University, where he was a 2-time captain. Great lacrosse coaching pedigree over there for the Servite Friars. We expect our team to be good this year. We expect our team to be good every year. But we look here at the scoreboard at Davidson Field, and the Sailors are up with a football score of 7-0 with 1:25 to go in the second quarter.
And, you know, this one might be one of those early games, and I actually did get word from Tom O'Leary that he is without a couple of their players. He is without Parker Helleland, Bremen Peterson, and Patrick Haynes. So maybe those 3 players are not being here is making an impact. But, again, it's still early in the season, and you look at the Trinity League as a whole. You obviously got your Modern Day, who's been dominating as of late. You have Santa Margarita, who just kicked off its season tonight at Yorba Linda. You have Servite, who's been looking good. But you look at the bottom half. J. Sarah's still been struggling as they're still in rebuild mode. Bosco is still a big question mark after their graduation of seniors back from 2018. And you also have Orange Lutheran, still a young and up-and-coming squad. So you have to like Servite's chances of finishing in the top 3 in the Trinity League. It's just that it depends on how far they'll go and who their first-round matchup will be in said playoffs. But playoffs are not for a long time.
After the timeout, Servite on the attack, shot to the right of the goal, chased down by the Friars, but Jerome Snyder showing the hustle. Hustle not fully rewarded there, but I respect it. I see you, Jerome, from up here in the press box. Final minute of this second quarter. Friars trying to get on the board, trailing 7-0. Sailors have been foot on the gas, foot on the throat of Servite through almost 2 quarters of this game. And number 43, Troy Kennedy, stepping up on defense, feeding it ahead to A.J. Brown. Now the Sailors. Barnes wants that one back, frustrated, tried to get it to Owen Brosnan, slashing towards the cage and can't quite get there. So close, but no cigar for Newport Harbor. And the Friars will push things ahead, trying to get some points on the board before halftime. Snyder comes out of the cage and stonewalls the attacker for the Servite Friars. That was beautiful.
That is something you don't really see every day, and that could have been an easy fast break goal for Servite, but Snyder gotta give a lot of credit to just fearlessly came out and just rickrolled his opponent.
Absolutely fearless. Live by the sword, die by the sword. Whip shot this time. It does sneak in there past Snyder. First goal of the evening for the Servite Friars. On the board for the first time, 7-1. Your score now with 10 seconds to go. Cash McVeigh, the first goal of the night for Servite. The senior, number 27, finds pay dirt here with 10 seconds to go till halftime.
Yeah, and that was a pretty goal right there. He just let that one rip. And when it comes to Servite, their backs are against the wall. They're still down 6, and they're on the road. They're basically going to have to dig it out. And I kind of wonder if Servite's even gotten a home game. I don't think they have. I'd have to double check, but I'll probably check at halftime.
Ground ball, last shot before halftime. Sails long, rolls out the back of the football end zone, past the soccer nets, and bounces towards the bathrooms here at Davidson Field. We are headed to halftime with the Sailors dominating the Friars. Friars got the last laugh of the first half, scoring a goal right before the half ended. But the Sailors, 7-1, going up 7-0, and absolutely dominating that first half, living on their side of the field. Time of possession heavily favoring the Sailors there. Taryn, let's take a breather. When we come back, we'll have some halftime stats and analysis. And I know that you've got, obviously, some stuff to tweet out because you're working double duty covering this game for Max Lax. Where can people find you on social media? Where can people find you on Twitter? Because I know you give some of the best, obviously, some of the best Sailors coverage in the world, but some of the best lacrosse coverage in the county. So what's your social media handles, Taryn?
So my social media handle on Twitter is @TarynRodriguez1. My first name is spelled T-E-R-A-N. And then my last name, Rodriguez, is spelled R-O-D-R-I-G-U-E-Z, and then the number 1. So once again, that's @TarynRodriguez1, and that's where you can find me on Twitter, tweeting about Newport Harbor sports and other sports in general.
Yeah, give him a follow. One of the best local sports follows. I find most of my information from Taryn. We're going to take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll have some halftime stats and analysis and second half action. Sailors dominating the Friars here at home, but we still got a whole half of lacrosse left. 7-1 the score here in favor of Newport Harbor. You are watching Newport Harbor Boys Lacrosse on TarTV. Welcome back into Newport Harbor Boys Lacrosse. Alex Crawford, Taryn Rodriguez with you here from Davidson Field. And the Sailors dominating in the first half. 7 goals for Newport Harbor, just 1 for the Servite Friars. I'll tell you who scored those for the Sailors. Aiden Brutman has a pair. And Taryn, correct me if I get any of these wrong, because I know you're keeping meticulous stats over there. Aiden Brutman has a pair. Charlie Durrani has 1. Luke Barnes has 1. Will Patterson has 3.
Correct.
And that puts us at 4? Am I missing anyone? I'm good, right?
Yeah,
That's
you're
it.
good.
Okay,
That's
there
7.
we go. That's 7. So Will Patterson with the hat trick. And Luke Barnes with 1. Aiden Brutman with 2. Charlie Durrani with 1 for the Sailors. That's how they got 7. And the second half is underway. Face-off won once again by Mason Williams. Dominating the face-off game here today. And that is such an important part of the game as Williams dodging along the near sideline, cradling with a right hand, now cutting it in near goal line extended, wrapping it around behind the back of the cage. Owen Brosnan controls it there for Newport Harbor. Feeds it over near side to Luke Barnes, one of the senior captains on this team, and a guy that I hope I see suit up for the Hoops team this year in their abbreviated season. I'd like to see Barnes out there. He was one of my favorite players on the squad last year.
Indeed. I give him kudos because he's going to have games overlap, and it might not fully work out for him, and he might not be fully on time, but I got to give him a tip of the cap considering that's not easy to do, especially since he's got to go from field to gymnasium in the span of a nanosecond.
Nice feed by Barnes.
Oh.
Good look for the Sailors. Misses. It's tracked down by Brutman. Brosnan with the shot. On goal, misses. Barnes would have had a nice assist there, had it connected. And now Charlie Durrani has it over to Barnes on the far side. Sailors controlling possession as they have most of the evening against the Friars from Servite coming out of the Trinity League, looking for their first win of the season. Barnes rolls around with the dodge, gets the shot off, misses. Chased down again by Brutman. Possession Sailors.
And on that last shot, not the previous shot that was missed, it was actually saved by Caden Cox's bottom of the stick. Not the net part, but it was, saved by, the pole. So
At the X, Barnes dodging, wrapping around, gets checked hard, stays on his feet, looks inside, tries to sneak it past Cox, can't do it. Flag comes in. Now, I see you keeping stats over there, Taryn. Do you have numbers on the number of saves by Servite goalkeeper?
I believe that with that other save with the courtesy of Caden Cox, he's got 4 saves if we're counting that last save.
I'll count the last one. I don't know. My eyes aren't as good as yours over here, but
yeah, it's tough to determine what is considered a save. I mean, if any part of the goalie saves the ball from going into the net, that's considered a save in my terms of a definition.
And a small but mighty crowd here at Davidson. Obviously, COVID restrictions. Got to keep things to the immediate family and recent alumni. But the crowd here, good crowd on a Wednesday night for lacrosse. And good to see some of the football players out here as well supporting the lacrosse team. I see 2 of the senior captains, James Kroll and Justin McCoy, sitting down there in front of us. And we're excited to see them suit up. Good look inside by Brosnan on the feed from Barnes, misses, chased down by the Sailors. We're excited to see Kroll and McCoy suit up against the Fountain Valley Barons, looking to bounce back on the football field on Friday.
Oh, yeah, indeed. And I'm just going to say this about the boys lacrosse team. Some of their shots aren't going in, as that was actually chased down, and the closest person to the ball was that Servite goalie, Caden Cox. But I will also say this, Newport Harbor shots might not be going in, but at least they're getting possessions, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the Friars, hence on that defensive front, as now Servite's up the field.
That's Patrick Beamer for Servite, bringing it up, clearing it for the Friars, and we'll get a look at them on attack with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter. Sailors lead 7-1. Servite hasn't had a lot of offensive opportunities in this game, much to the ire of head coach Tom O'Leary. I'm sure he would love a few more looks, a few more shots on goal from his team, seeking their first win of the season.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And honestly, they've had good looks. It's just that they've either turned the ball over or their shots have been wide or the ball's just been killed entirely by Newport Harbor. So it's just one of those games where nothing seems to be going in for Servite. And you also have to give credit to Newport Harbor's goalie, Jerome Snyder, who has done a pretty solid job preventing scores from happening. He's got 3 saves on my stat sheet. I could be wrong, but I've got 3 saves, and that's my final answer.
Well, you know what? I think that sounds about right, Taryn, because we haven't seen a ton of shots on goal from Servite. And when they have shot it, Snyder's been there every time but one. So 3 saves for the goalkeeper, Snyder. Sounds about right. On the far side, that was Dylan Wanch with the long stick trying to push it ahead. It goes out of bounds.
That actually was deflected off of Servite. So fortunately for Newport Harbor, they do keep the ball as they get it up the field.
Brosnan brings it in. Got a stick check there by the long stick defender of the Servite Friars. Feeds it up to their goalie, Cox. He passes it near side. Here come the Friars, trying to add to their 1 goal total in this game, trailing by 6. Sailors with the ride. No, now Friars get it in the crease. And will set up their attack here. Up top, number 9 for the Friars, James Prado, has it. Slowing things down and looking up to set up a set play here for Servite.
So something I talked about before halftime was that Servite has not gotten what a sick goal by number 9.
That was James Prado. Doubles the score total for the Servite Friars. They've got 2 on the board now. They have the last 2 goals in this game. They ended the half with a goal. They opened the second half with a goal almost halfway through the third quarter, and the score still favors the Sailors. It was 7-0. Now it's 7-2. Prado nets his first goal of the night and sneaks that one past Jerome Snyder.
And that one was assisted. Unfortunately, I didn't really catch the assist, but it looks like Servite's finally got some footing going. But I was mentioning this before halftime. Servite has not gotten a chance to play a home game, as their next home game won't be until possibly Saturday, April 10th, which that seems to be quite a distance away. But we'll see what can happen with Servite. Servite is a very resilient team. I think they're going to take their lumps early, but then when it comes to the season progressing, I think they could shape up to be a formidable team going forward, especially in the Trinity League.
It's a long season. We're in spring sport here with lacrosse, and they'll get a full season. Playoffs and all. We didn't get that in every sport. We're not guaranteed for the winter sports. We didn't get it for water polo, boys or girls. Their season's over, so we will get playoffs for lacrosse. No playoffs for football, unfortunately. Just a 6-game season.
And, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Taryn.
So I also did hear that when it comes to indoor sports, it's not guaranteed that playoffs will be back. But outdoor sports, it's looking very likely, especially for sports like lacrosse. So we'll see.
Feed inside.
Whoa.
Snyder's there to deflect it. Turns on the Jets with a hustle play, tries to chase it down. Servite gets it, back on attack. Possession goes to the Friars, trailing by 5. 7-5 score favors the Sailors here in the third quarter. 5:45 to go.
And that was good recognition by Greenlee, but Snyder was there to make a doorstop save, and that's something that is most likely tough to save. And he makes another one.
Jerome
as
Snyder
I say that.
looking like a baseball catcher, just getting his stick right there and feeds it ahead to Dylan Wanch. Wanch with the long stick, cradling, tries to get it to Brutman, passes too high. Brosnan trying to dig that one out, chase it down before it goes out of bounds for the Sailors. He does. Cradling now out behind the goal. Over to the X is Brosnan, near side Barnes, right around goal line extended, the senior captain. Cradling, dodging, cutting towards the goal. And good stick check there, prevented a shot from Barnes. Brutman cleans it up for the Sailors.
Yeah, that was a great dive by Nick Shurameta. He basically just gave himself up. He gave his body up just to knock the ball out. Newport Harbor does have possession, but that's just sacrificing your body for a great defensive stop. And that is why Shurameta is playing D1 lacrosse at Bellarmine.
Durante looks for Patterson, gets it to him. Now Patterson slows things down on the attack for the Sailors. Will Patterson having himself a night, 3 goals, 2 assists. He's behind the cage at the X. Up top to Barnes. Shot on the feed from Patterson. Misses. Chased down. Closest man there is Aiden Brutman once again. And the Sailors retain possession. 4:15 to go in the third. Leading 7-2. Brutman at the X. Now over to Patterson. And back up top to Durrani, who will suit up and play in the defensive backfield for the Sailors on Friday night at Capshew Field against the Barons. Durrani over to Barnes, cradling with the left hand, cutting inside, whipping it in and missing, but whew! Luke Barnes showing some velocity on that one, Taryn.
Yeah, that's some pretty good lacrosse moves and a good shot right there. Just a little bit wide, but Newport Harbor still has possession as...
Oh, that was Will Patterson trying to find his 4th goal of the night. It's chased down, and possession will go to Servite. So change of possession, and the Friars looking to get things going back on attack, down by 5. 3:30 to go in this game, or excuse me, in this quarter. Got a whole other quarter after that one.
And good recognition from Russell Yoon getting a head start and just being able to be the first one there. It could have gone either way with him and Brutman, but he was just there in the vicinity, and that's just good hustle by him.
Servite, black jerseys, black shorts, white numbers, white helmets. They have it on attack now, trailing by 5. Final 3 minutes of the third quarter. Will Patterson defending for the Sailors. Now Noah Fogelman. Now a shot, long range. Snyder was there. Misses. That was number 6 for the Friars. Nicholas Shannon, the senior, with the shot. Misses. And possession going back to Servite. Ball is on the ground. Scooped up by Servite. Shot. Sneaks past Snyder. Just past Troy Kennedy. Threading the needle on that one. That is Matthew Greenlee, senior, with his first goal of the night. And the Friars have 3 on the board now. 7-3 score. Still favors the Sailors, but it was 7-0. I wouldn't say Servite has momentum, Taryn, but they have more momentum than they had at any point in this game.
Well, and I agree to an extent. However, Servite is gaining its confidence, and it is creeping back in this game. It's far from over because last Saturday we had Los Alamitos and San Clemente do battle. Los Al was up 7-1 at one point, and then San Clemente was able to come back to win the game 13-12 at San Clemente. So Newport Harbor really has to be careful here. They cannot afford another near collapse like they did against Beckman, though the game got as low as 2 goals. But I think Newport Harbor needs to value a little bit more possessions and maybe take a little time off the clock, because the clock is their friend, and even though there's 1 more quarter, they basically just need to chew up clock.
Cooper Hempstead was on the face-off for the Sailors, winning that and getting it ahead to Luke Barnes, who's cradling it now over to Will Patterson in the creases. Patterson near goal line extended. Dodging towards the goal, now brings it out, slows things down for the Sailors. Patterson inside. Patient. Sailors are being patient. Maybe listening to you, Taryn, as Brutman wraps around, tries to feed it to Durrani, can't get there. Dug out, scooped up by the Friars, and they're coming on the counterattack. Change of the point of attack to the far side of the field. But as you were saying, Taryn, the clock is the Sailors' friend. There's no reason to rush things, no need to rush things on offense. 7-3, Sailors lead. 90 seconds to go here in the third.
Yeah, and Newport Harbor just needs to calm the game down and just relax for a little bit and just maybe take their time with their shots. And because now Servite's been getting the ball more often than not, and they're pretty much on the attack and looking to cut this lead down even further, as they're actually getting good looks, but the defense from Newport Harbor just continues to rise to the occasion and shut down any attempt that the Friars attempt to have.
Big fight for the ground ball right around the perimeter of the crease. White shirts and black shirts going head-to-head, and the officials whistle this dead. They will give possession to the Friars.
And that's just a nice little train wreck for the ball from both teams. Both teams scrapping to get that ball, but Servite is able to get it. It looked like that was a mini push call on Newport Harbor, so gonna be Servite ball.
Wrapping around from the X, getting a good look. Snyder's there. as you would say, Taryn, working the cage like a zookeeper, cleaning up that one. No goal for the Friars. 22 seconds to go in the third quarter. Luke Barnes pushes it ahead for the Sailors, trying to get it to Durrani. It's scooped up by Servite. 15 seconds on the clock. Can the Friars strike gold once again? In the waning minutes of this quarter, they closed out the second with a goal. They're trying to do it here. Nothing doing. Luke Barnes cleans it up, crosses midfield, and now the Sailors will uncork one at the horn. Troy Kennedy let it fly, missed. And that takes us to the fourth with the Sailors still leading, but the game a little bit closer. 3 goals on the board for Servite, 7 for the Sailors. It's a 4-goal lead for Newport Harbor. We'll have fourth quarter action when we come back. Again, your score, Newport Harbor Sailors 7, the Servite Friars 3. You are watching Newport Harbor Boys Lacrosse on TarTV. Welcome back into TarTV. Alex Crawford, Darren Rodriguez with you here. Fourth quarter. This thing is not out of the woods yet for the Sailors. They led 7-0 at halftime. They lead 7-3 here. So I wouldn't say that Servite has seized a major amount of momentum, but they have something going. They got something working. They got some stuff. They got some nuts and bolts that they like. But this game, still favors the Sailors. They found pay dirt 7 times tonight, but we look back to Saturday against Chaparral. 18-5. Sailors dominated that game and went running clock midway through the third quarter. Here, we're going to have a good finish. I think it's time to fasten up our seatbelts, buckle in for the next 12 minutes of action on the lacrosse field, Taryn, because this should be a good one.
So David Todd actually told me that Chaparral did not have all of its players. Its players that are like football and lacrosse players did not play. So it was a little bit tougher for Chaparral. But as for Servite, they are still hanging in there. And that's basically what a Tom O'Leary team does. They never give up, and they fight until the final second is off the clock. As you have to admire Servite for trying. They're hungry for a win, and honestly, they face 2 talented opponents, so they can only keep getting better. They can only go up from here on out because this is a tough Servite team, and while they are they're trying to figure out the kinks.
Brumman inside, cutting towards the goal on the feed from Patterson. A lot of whistles coming in. Is that going to count, Taryn?
No, it's not going to count.
Oh, my goodness. No goal.
Looks like that's a crease violation.
Yeah, they're going to call it a crease violation on the field here at Davidson. Oh, man. And absolutely.
Yeah.
A beautiful goal there. On the feed from Patterson. It would have been Patterson's hat trick in the assist category as well. (7-3) still your score. And the officials resetting the game clock here to 10:30. 10:36 on the game clock. Crease violation. Taryn, I don't watch as much lax as you do. What constitutes a crease violation?
So you see the goal cage right there, and you see that little circle around it.
Yes.
If you step in there, that's basically a crease violation. As coercively, Servite actually gets a goal from number 27, Cash McVeigh.
Well, now we talk about momentum, the pendulum swinging. Cash McVeigh nets his second goal of the night, and that's a 2-goal swing. A goal taken off the board for the Sailors, Patterson to Brutman, and now a goal from McVeigh on the Servite end of things, and the score 7-4 with 10:24 to go in this game. Sailors led 7-0 in halftime. So 4 straight goals over the course of the last 14 minutes for Servite. And now Harbor back on their heels a little bit. Harbor got to find something.
Yeah, and they actually led 7-1 at halftime, but it seems like Servite is gaining momentum with every possession. And again, this basically goes back to what I said. Newport Harbor's got to slow down the momentum and get quality shots, because if they don't, then Servite could come back. And again, when it comes to Servite in Newport Harbor and boys lacrosse, nothing is guaranteed, and you have to expect the unexpected.
A.J. Brown wins the face-off. Now Luke Barnes has it. Up top, it goes to Logan Atkins, cradling with a right hand, getting in the crease, whipping a shot, and finding the back of the net from long range. A frozen rope from Logan Atkins. His first goal of the night. Sailors needed something. They hadn't scored in this half. And Logan Atkins breaks the drought, finds the oasis in the desert for the Newport Harbor Sailors. They are doubling up the Servite Friars here in the fourth quarter. 9:47 to go in this game.
Much needed goal for Newport Harbor, as they have themselves a nice little cushion of 4 goals. Still plenty of time left, so Newport Harbor cannot underestimate the Friars.
And it feels good to see one go in the back of the net for the Sailors. Hustle play there. Will be whistled dead, but Mason Williams sliding in on his knees, trying to dig that one out. Possession goes to the Friars, and they bring it up on the near side wing. Nolan Mejias has it for them, number 21. Cradling slowly. 9:20 to go in this game. Sailors lead 8-4, looking to pick up win number 3 of the season. Servite looking for win number 1. They are 0-2 out of the ever-powerful, always powerful Trinity League. Friars looked like they were grabbing some momentum there. They had scored the last 4 goals, 4 unanswered for Servite. And Logan Atkins able to break that. Always feels good. Troy Kennedy there with the long stick on defense. And that's Cooper Hempstead now pressuring. Sailors defense looking hungry. Looking like a pool full of piranhas, smelling blood in the water. They don't want to see Servite touch the twine here. That's number 42, Ryder Jackson, on defense for the Sailors with a check. Pass, goal line extended. Ball movement good. It skips past the Sailors goalkeeper and finds the back of the net. Jerome Snyder couldn't get there. And now both offenses coming to life here in the fourth quarter. 8-5. Score favors the Sailors still, but it's starting to be some trading of goals here at the end of the game. 8:23 to go, 8-5. Score still favors the Sailors. Who had that one for the Friars, Terry?
That was number 6, Nicholas Shannon, and the assist was from number 21, Nolan Mejias. And that's pretty much what I like to call tic-tac-toe, 3 passes in a row.
That was beautiful ball movement. I think Greg Popovich would have been proud of that if it had been at the basketball level. Another face-off won by Mason Williams. Such an important part of the game. As you pointed out earlier, Taryn, Sailors loving that extra possession. Williams cradling near goal line extended. Now gets it over to Barnes. Whistles coming in.
Like that is a timeout for Newport Harbor.
David Todd wants to take a timeout. We'll keep it right here with the score still in favor of Newport Harbor. 8-5 with 8:04 to go in this game. Sailors opened up the season just a couple weeks ago against Beckman, a 14-8 win over the Patriots. Then went on to face Mater Dei on the road. Lost that one. Tough loss by 8. 11-3 the final there. Then Chaparral, they bounced back on Saturday. We had that game for you on TarTV. A 13-point victory for the Sailors. And now, a great back-and-forth game. Every time that you want the Sailors to put the Friars away, like you pointed out, Taryn, this Tom O'Leary squad roaches. They never die. They keep coming back, and they're not going to go away in this one. We got 8:04 to go. Sailors have a 3-point lead. This thing isn't over. This thing's going to come down to the end. Sailors got to play 8 more minutes, 48 total minutes of solid lacrosse to put away this team out of the Trinity League.
They do, and their defense needs to recollect themselves. They did a great job in the first half, but it seems like they're starting to ease up a bit. And this could be kind of like the Beckman game where Newport Harbor dominated, led early 6-0, and then the opponent kind of eased their way back in. So you have to keep your foot on the gas. All gas, no brakes. As a 3-goal lead with 8:04 is certainly not a safe lead. And Servite is very much well in this thing. And, again, give credit to Tom O'Leary and his players. They're missing 3 players today, but that's not been an excuse for Tom O'Leary and the Friars because they work hard every night.
And after the timeout from Sailors' first-year head coach David Todd, we will see Newport Harbor back on attack with possession. Logan Atkins had it now. Luke Barnes wearing number 8 gets around a pick from Patterson. Straight away, feeds it over to Durrani, spins around and whips it in. Threading the needle, Charlie Durrani. A beautiful goal. 7:49 to go. Out of the timeout from David Todd, the Sailors, a masterpiece. They draw up something beautiful. And Durrani strikes gold for the second time tonight. Sailors lead 9-5 with 7:49 to go.
I believe that one was either a 5-hole shot or a low shelf shot. Either way, it was a pretty shot and a much-needed goal. Another much-needed goal because they're still keeping their lead at 4 goals as opposed to like 3 and below. So Newport Harbor is really doing a good job and just not allowing Servite to get the lead as low as 3. Kind of like how they did against Beckman when they got the lead as low as 2.
Brutman tries to feed it inside. Unable to connect there with Johnny Checks with the long stick, who sprints to the sideline. Jonathan Checks getting a little PT there. Sprints to the side. Now Sailors on the attack, shot to the right of the net. That was Patterson. (9-5) your score with just over 7 minutes to go in this game. Both offenses coming alive here in the fourth, trading goals, but the Sailors, they led 7-1 at halftime. And that cushion helping them out mightily here. Friars have found something that works, but the Sailors still dominating the time of possession. Patterson has it, cradling, and gets it back to Durrani, who had the last goal for the Sailors. Just a beautiful, beautiful needle-threading goal. Durrani inside, fires it off again, can't connect. Scooped up by Cox. And possession remains in favor of Newport Harbor.
Ooh, that's interesting. It might have been a violation because one of the players fell on the ball, and that's not allowed. You can only fall on the ball with your net and the pole and whatnot, so.
Atkins has it at goal line extended. Stick check. It ends up on the ground. Brosnan digs it out. Now Brutman has it at X. Thought about the pass now. Dodging inside. Spinning around. Can he get it in? He does. Aiden Brutman. Time seemed to stand still for number 4. His 3rd goal of the night. The hat trick for Brutman. He's been so prolific this season. And he puts double digits on the board for the Sailors with 6:17 to go. 10-5. They double up the Friars. And they've taken control once again of this game midway through the 4th quarter.
And that's just good footwork on his part, just staying on his feet and just finding an opening past Cox in the goal for Servite. And that's just great persistency right there. And he didn't force the issue by just trying to jam it in there. He took his time and just squeezed it in there, and then boom, goal.
10-5, Sailors lead, 6:17 to go in this game. Another face-off won by Mason Williams. So trusty there at such an important position for the Sailors. He gets it ahead to Barnes. Tries to get it at the X to Checks. Jonathan Checks in the game now. It goes out of bounds. Brutman can't get there. And the Friars will have it on attack, trying to clear it halfway through the fourth quarter. 6 minutes to go, and the Sailors lead by 5. 10-5, your score in favor of Newport Harbor. Feels like we haven't had a Friars offensive possession for a few minutes.
Yeah, I agree, and Newport Harbor's defense and Mason Williams has done a great job when it comes to preventing the ball going into the nets of the Servite offense. It's just been that type of game for the Friars. They've gotten a few goals, and they've gotten the lead down to as little as 3, but Newport Harbor's just had an answer for them, and that is impressive if you're a lacrosse team such as Newport Harbor. Just finding ways to, answer the call despite everything an opponent does.
Ooh, good look inside. Misses. Nice stick check there by Checks, rolling in the turf and making life difficult for the Servite Friars.
Yeah, that was a great possession. That was a great possession by Servite, but also great defense by Newport Harbor. Just making it difficult for them.
Troy Kennedy was harassing there on defense. This pesky Newport Harbor defense harassing the Friars. Jerome Snyder comes out of the net a little bit too far, and the Friars, James Prado, the sophomore, his second goal of the night, moves the 5 on the scoreboard under the guest name up to 6. 10-6. Score still favors the Sailors. 4:40 to go in this game. Like we talked about, Taryn, Taylors have the lead. They have the cushion, but we're not out of the woodwork yet.
Yeah, that was basically a low 5 goal, and a great recognition by Prado. And honestly, he couldn't have drawn it up much better. And I don't know where the Sailors' defense was, but they got to clean it up. And against a quality team like Servite, you just can't allow them to get any breathing room.
Mason Williams draws a flag from the official as he was pushed to the ground after winning the faceoff. I feel like a broken record saying Mason Williams wins the faceoff, but he does it so often. And against Mater Dei, that was the issue. Mater Dei, great faceoff specialist, and they won that game 11-3. It's so important to have those extra possessions.
Yeah, and the previous penalty was a 30-second foul for a push. So Newport Harbor's going to go up a man. But that Mater Dei game, Mater Dei really used defense and speed to just blind Newport Harbor and just hand them their first loss of the season. But Johnny Rodriguez has done an amazing job with that program.
Brosnan thought about it. Patterson working it around the perimeter. Are the Sailors man up on the power play? Patterson to Barnes, misses. But possession will stay in favor of the Sailors. Chased down again. Aiden Brutman, closest man there. The Sailors team so reliable at their rolls. Brosnan works it over to Durrani. Now off the crossbar, out by Barnes. Dug out by the Sailors. Logan Atkins ends up with it. And the Sailors keep possession, keep chewing that clock. Under 4 minutes to go. Durrani whips one, misses, and Atkins was the closest man in vicinity. Possession, Newport Harbor.
So that last shot that hit the crossbar, as the old saying goes, the crossbar is a goalie's best friend.
It certainly was for Servite there. That is Atkins, who loses his stick and gets whipped in the knee. Yeah, he's down, clutching his knee. Whistles from the officials.
I thought that was his knee or was his hand, because that procedure was a playing without a stick penalty. So
yeah, he lost his stick on that one and is clutching some body part, clearly in obvious pain. I know if I got checked with a lacrosse stick like that, you know what? I'd probably just quit on the spot. These kids are tough. Lacrosse players are real tough, Taryn.
Absolutely, I agree.
Logan Atkins being tended to by the training staff. Hush falls over the stadium here at Davidson Field.
Ooh. Yeah, you're right. It might be his knee. All you could just do is hope that's a sprain, but...
Oh, man, yeah, they're looking at his right knee. He lays right on the 20-yard line there, right at the perimeter of the crease. Atkins had a goal against Chaparral on Saturday.
Yeah, he's not he's kind of walking under his own power, but he's not putting too much weight on it. He's getting support from one of his teammates. That's number 10.
Mason Williams.
Mason Williams, yeah. So it's the worst of both worlds for Newport Harbor. They lose possession of the ball, they turn it over, and one of their best players, well, not one of their best players, but one of their good scorers is basically heading to the trainer to see, hopefully it's not anything too serious.
Yeah, we got to hope we see Logan Atkins back out ASAP. Probably not in this game, but ASAP for the Sailors. Good round of applause here. Great sportsmanship by Servite, and a great round of applause from the COVID capacity crowd here at Davidson Field. And we still got 3 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. Sailors up by 4. Servite, they need something, and they need something quick. Trying to come back in this game, looking for win number 1 on the season. Whistles blow.
Looks like that's an offsides call on Servite, so that's going to give the ball back to Newport Harbor.
Sailor sideline, loves it. Turnover, possession back to the Sailors, but ball ends up on the ground. Snyder coming way out of the cage, scoops it up. He gets hit. And thank goodness for the Sailors' sake that Bryce McBeck was there with a long stick to push it ahead to Troy Kennedy. And he feeds it up on the perimeter to Brosnan. Sailors clear it, and they set up their offense through Will Patterson, feeding it inside. Pass was disrupted by Servite. Ground ball. Scooped up by the Friars. No, wait. Will Patterson making life tough on the Friars, and the ball's still on the ground. So
it's a fight for the ball right there for both teams. Ooh, that's not going to be allowed.
Oh, Charlie Durrani coming in. Thought he was suited up on the football field and levels the Servite midfielder. Charlie Durrani lays the lumber like a free safety, which, by the way, he is for the Newport Harbor Sailors. I love that play from Durrani.
I think he might have gotten penalized because I think the referee just pulled out his flag and it just didn't fly. But
yes, yeah, there is a penalty. I'm over here lauding that play. I love it. But, yes, it will be a penalty against Newport Harbor. But I do love the physicality.
Actually, the penalty looks like it's on Servite as there's a guy hanging to the bench.
Okay, so it is against Servite. Well, what happened was Durrani leveled the Servite player, but the officials, they always catch the retaliation. Servite didn't hit first. Servite hit second. Officials saw it through the flag. And a power play opportunity here for the Sailors. So nice hit by Durrani. Worked out well for Newport Harbor. And now it's back to Durrani. Feeding it over to Barnes. Up top to Patterson. Feeds it inside to Brutman. Ooh, what a feed from Will Patterson. Would have been a nice cherry on top of his night. 2 minutes to go in this game. 2 minutes remaining. Sailors up by 4, 10-6.
I think that one might have been saved, actually.
Well, it was a nice look by Patterson that won't count in the stat sheet, but it will count in our hearts and in our minds and in our memories as Patterson feeds it over to Brosnan, pulls it back out. 1:40 to go. Feed inside to Durrani.
And that's a save.
He shoots it, but Cox for the Servite Friars, the goalkeeper, will be credited with a save there, as you said, Taryn. 90 seconds to go in this game. Servite down by 4. It will take a miracle for the Friars to come back. Let's see what they do on attack here.
It looks like there's going to be a timeout by Servite.
Servite head coach Tim O'Leary.
Tom O'Leary.
Tom O'Leary, thank you. Thank you, Taryn. We appreciate your lacrosse knowledge on this broadcast. We'll have to have you on again sometime. I know that the old coach, Mark Todd, can't always make it. He's a busy man. And so we'll definitely have to have you hop back on the mic, Taryn.
Absolutely, and I definitely don't mind being on the mic with you. I like doing these lacrosse games with you, and it's always fun to share my knowledge and to be on the call with you.
Well, it's a bummer that the water polo season had to end so quick. I know I always enjoy chopping it up with you out on the pool deck, but, man, we only got 3 weeks of water polo. What a bummer.
Yeah, it just felt like it went by so quickly, and that's kind of what happens when you have fun calling games and just witnessing great water polo in Orange County. But I will also say this, it was a fun 3 weeks while it lasted.
It was fun for both teams.
Yeah, and I wish we could have gotten some sort of like tournament action.
Me too.
But it is what it is. Can't.
we're happy that we were happy to have sports back, even if we don't get the postseason for all the sports we want, like football and water polo. And after the timeout from Tom O'Leary and the Servite Friars, we will see what they do on attack. Down by 4, 1 minute to go in this game. Sailors lead. 10-6 your score. Number 6 for Servite. Nicholas Shannon cradles it. Defended there by Cooper Hempstead. They feed it over to the X. And Dylan Wanch checks him with a long stick. Clock ticks down. 20 seconds have elapsed. 40 to go. Servite unable to get the look they want. Patient with it. They know this thing's out of reach. Down by 4 with 30 seconds left. Dodging inside. Great stick check there by Bryce McBeth. Punishing the Friars. And digging it out is Dylan Wanch. Feeding it up ahead there to Noah Fogelman, the linebacker. Gets it over to Cooper Hempstead. 10 seconds on the clock. Ball rolling towards the sidelines. Clock will stop with 6 ticks to go. And only 6 ticks under the guest name on the scoreboard. The Friars trail by 4. Long-range shot. Misses. Right. Horn sounds. That does it. And the Sailors come away victorious here at Davidson Field. What a battle. What a game. Putting up 10 on the Friars. Out of the Trendy League. 10-6 your final. The Newport Harbor Sailors move to 3-1, and Servite drops to 0-3. The best game, start to finish, of the season for Newport Harbor. You love to see it, and they win by 4 here tonight at Davidson. 10-6 over Servite. Let's tell you how the Sailors got, where they got, how they got those goals. Aiden Brutman had a trio of goals, a hat trick for him, number 4, and a hat trick for the senior captain, number 19, Will Patterson. He had 3 goals and 2 assists. Also finding pay dirt tonight for Newport Harbor, number 7, Charlie Durrani. And let me look over my notes here. Taryn, I know you're keeping more meticulous stats than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Did Luke Barnes score tonight?
Oh yeah, he did. He scored all in the second quarter.
That's right, he did. Barnes had a goal and 2 assists. So that's your goals there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Brutman had a hat trick, 3 goals for him. Durrani had 2. Barnes had 1 and 2 assists. Will Patterson had 2 assists and 3 goals. And the Sailors come away victorious. Logan Atkins had 1 as well. So 10-6, your final in favor of the Sailors. Really all-around great game by them. Taryn, what did you like out of the Newport Harbor team tonight?
Well, what I liked was that they played sound, solid lacrosse, and even when Servite got momentum, they didn't relinquish it. And honestly, I think their defense really stepped up. My only thing is that they got to do it for all 4 quarters. And honestly, I think Newport Harbor is capable of doing that. However, they need to clean it up on both ends. Our offense was a little shaky at times, but they came up big in the 4th quarter. So honestly, I think this is a good win for Newport Harbor. Good momentum booster going into next Wednesday's game against Santa Margarita. That's a road game. Last year, Newport Harbor won that game, so I imagine the Eagles are going to want to get some revenge on the Sailors. But you got to like Newport Harbor's chances, considering this Eagles' season is only one day old.
So no more games for 7 days for the Sailors, and then they got 2 next week on the road, Santa Margarita on Wednesday, and then back at home against Tesoro. Is it Tesoro on Saturday?
Not next Saturday, but the following Saturday, Newport Harbor plays Trabuco Hills.
Trabuco Hills, thank you. Sorry, Trabuco Hills, 1 week from Saturday here at Davidson Field. Taryn, thanks for joining me on the broadcast. We appreciate having you. And if you are a Newport Harbor Sailor Athletics fan, follow Taryn on Twitter at Taryn Rodriguez1. He holds it down for Sailor Nation. We appreciate it, Taryn.
Hey, I appreciate being on here, and it's going to look like a great season. And definitely follow my work via MaxLax.
MaxLax, yes.
Yes, the
Plug
Twitter
that.
handle is at MaxLax Inc. We pretty much put out stories mostly every day.
It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll be back here tomorrow covering some girls lacrosse action as Newport Harbor plays Santiago So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, if you are a fan of Newport Harbor Sailor Athletics, follow Taryn and tune in Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff from Capshew Field in Huntington Beach. The Newport Harbor Sailors taking on the Fountain Valley Barons in football, looking to bounce back and pick up their first league win of the season. We'll have that call for you radio only on tarradio.com. Then we're gearing up for football live stream a week from Friday, Battle of the Bay here from Davidson. Can't wait for that. Again, your final, Sailors win big 10-6 over the Servite Friars. They move to 3-1 on the season. Servite drops to 0-3. Big thanks to John Hoist and the entire TarTV staff holding it down for us, making things happen here. Of course, Aiden Messerschmidt representing the student body population here tonight. And then big thanks to Dr. Sean Bolton, Dr. Jerry Murray for having the vision to put this whole thing together. And thank you, Taryn, for joining me here on the broadcast. For all the Sailors, this is Alex Crawford saying from Davidson Field to the pool deck, from the senior lot to the bell tower, you've been watching Newport Harbor Boys Lacrosse on TarTV. Go Sailors!
Peace.